Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I'll be trying to climb in about mid-tier with my favorite Pokemon, as the title suggests. I've got a team that has pretty much all my favorite Pokemon in it, specifically Latias and Scizor. They're pretty much my favorites and I'll use them as often as I can. I think I've finally found a team that properly synergizes them together. And hopefully you guys will agree. Let's see if we can get some good battles here today. I'll explain more about how the team works and what it functions as and how it synergizes as we battle. This is probably the highest I've ever gotten. I do not believe I've gotten to the Great Ball tier before. I've got a good feeling about this. Okay, looks like we're going to be dealing with, well, I wouldn't say Sun, although they also have Tyranitar, so it looks like they're going to try to trick me. Dialga definitely functions more in sand. And Togekiss, I'm actually not sure. I guess it's kind of either or. I'm going to guess, though, because it seems like a weird spot on this team. It might be more of a bulky Togekiss than the sweepers I'm used to seeing. I'm not super worried about it. Despite them having Torkoal, they don't actually have very many fire types, so maybe Scizor would be a good choice here. Obviously, Chlorophyll Venusaur is slightly worrisome, but only slightly. Without Groudon, I'm not too nervous about him. I'm going to go ahead and start with my normal strategy, which is Latias and Zacian in my first two slots. I will take Scizor on the backup, and I will take Swampert as well, because their only grass type is Venusaur, and I highly doubt any of their other Pokemon have a grass type attack, except maybe Torkoal. I think I'll be okay. Let's see what happens. I do tend to see a lot of Dialga. Out of all the normally banned legendaries I've seen in this season, I think the most common ones have probably been Ghost Calyrex, Dialga, and Groudon, which is really not a shock to me at all. I'm guessing that Dialga is there to counter all the other ones I see. Well, except Groudon. I don't think it can do much at all against Groudon. But I can see it being pretty good against Calyrex. Interesting, two shinies. Although I know where the shiny Dialga comes from, so that's not a really big shock for me. Okay, so I have a very good feeling that they're going to Dynamax Dialga. So I'm just going to go straight in for, let's see. I'm assuming they're going to Dynamax Dialga. And they might try to hit Latias super effectively. My normal strategy is to use Brutal Swing, which will hit all of them, including Latias, which will activate our weakness policy. But I'm going to kind of hope that they attempt to hit Latias with like a Dragon-type move, or a Fairy-type move even. That would be really good for us, because that Latias has a lot of hit point investment. I don't believe that there's any attack that they can use on her that would knock her out. Let's see what happens. I tend to see that a lot. I'm just happy to find a strategy I think works. Most of the time I use Latias as a support Pokemon, but now I've got her in an offensive role. It seems to work pretty well, actually. Okay, Ally Switch. Was not expecting that. That might actually be a very good strategy, actually. Because now my Dragon-type attack is not going to do anything. Crud. And they use Trick Room. Okay. Also not what I expected. For some reason, I did not see that coming. I guess I haven't seen a Trick Room team in a while. I'm so used to seeing Hatterene on a Trick Room set. It's kind of unusual for me. If they're going to use that, then I guess I'm going to have to use a move that will hit them normally. I don't want to set up Psychic Terrain, because even though that'll boost my Psychic-type attacks, it'll make me lose priority. So I guess I'll use Max Flare instead, because at least that hits them both the same. I'll use Play Rough too, because that'll hit both of them. Once again, I'm really hoping that they're going to Dynamax to try to hit Latias, because I want them to activate my weakness policy. Well, they're not. Not yet. There it is. Okay, awesome. Latias has plenty of hit point investment to take advantage of that. Now I should be able to get some damage off on him. Although that Togekiss does have a lot of... I had a feeling it was definitely a support Pokemon. I've been trying to look into the possibility of using a Togekiss that way. But cool, they're already down their normally banned legendary. I was expecting them to Dynamax it, but that's okay. But frankly, it's good that they didn't. I've mentioned this on previous videos, but I think it's actually very disadvantageous. Excuse me, I feel as though it's usually not a very good idea to Dynamax your legendary Pokemon, because even though that's a very strong Pokemon, if that Pokemon gets crippled, then you are already out not only your Dynamax, but also your banned legendary. That is primarily why I try to Dynamax Latias, who is not a banned legendary, and then Zacian can still do a fair amount of damage on its own. Okay, I want to try and take advantage of this special attack boost for as long as I can. I don't know what they're going to do with that Torkoal. But since Sun is up, I'm going to go ahead and use Max Flare again. Although Zacian might take a lot of damage from any fire type attacks. So I think I'm actually going to switch to Swampert. Yes, I'll switch to Swampert because it has an Assault Vest, that'll work very well for us. Swampert is another one of my favorite Pokemon. I'll use it as often as I can. Thankfully, it'll also probably take very good advantage of Trick Room, and as well as take very little damage from anything that Torkoal will throw at us, because it's holding an Assault Vest. Alright, Sun Boosted Max Flare will take out Togekiss. That's good for us. So we're up 2-4 now. Or 4-2, excuse me. They haven't used their Dynamax yet, but they are out their banned legendary. So I think we've still got this. Although I think that was the last turn for Dynamax. Alright, here comes Tyranitar. This might be a little bit more troublesome, because Latias is a lot less defensive bulk. You know, it really depends on who they attack. Because Swampert can do a lot of damage too. In fact, because of Latias' Levitate, I can use Earthquake without a single worry. I'm going to go ahead and try to get as much damage as I can. I'll use Draco Meteor on Tyranitar, because I am not worried at all about Torkoal right now. And I'll use Earthquake, which will hit both of them. Trick Room's still in effect. And there goes the Dynamax or Tyranitar. Had a feeling. Let's see if they can actually do anything with it. A little unusual. I don't usually see people Dynamax this late, although, frankly, it's worked out pretty well for them, I'd say. Okay, they use Bulldoze, which... Ah, weakness policy. That must be what they're going for. Oh, just the same as me, then. Well, they're probably going to one-shot whatever they hit, but they're not going to be able to hit both of us. I wonder if Swampert will go first. No, it does not. Alright, Latias goes down. That's okay, though. Swampert's still in the game. We'll still do at least a little bit of damage with him. Alright, Zacian has a Fighting Stab. Wait, no it doesn't. Excuse me. I forgot that before these matches I had switched Sacred Sword for Psychic Fangs because I see Aurora Veil, Light Screen, Reflect. I see those kinds of attacks quite often. So even though it does not have a Fighting Stab, it does still have its Steel-type attack, which will do super effective damage to Tyranitar. Might actually knock it out, but I don't think I'm going to be able to move fast enough. Thankfully, there's only one more turn of Trick Room, so if I could just survive one more turn, then I'll definitely be able to, I think I might be able to win this. Maybe. I guess we'll just see what happens. I'll go ahead and use Swampert to use Earthquake again, because I want to be able to hit both of them. But Eruption might actually knock out Zacian. Actually, no, it did not. Huh. I guess that's because it does less damage with Okay. Swampert goes down, but thankfully Zacian survived that attack. I think it's because Eruption does less damage when the user has less hit points, just like Water Spell. I don't know for sure, but I will absolutely take this. Awesome. Tyranitar goes down. And thankfully, since we're Steel type, we don't get hit by Sandstorm either. Knowing my luck, of course, their last Pokemon available is a Fire type, which isn't good against Scizor. But at least they don't have Trick Room anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Scizor out. And basically hope and pray I attack first. I'm not going to use Bullet Punch, because I know that Torkoal has a lot of physical defense. And this Scizor has like complete special defense investment. I'm going to play it safe and use Psychic Fangs, which will hit for neutral damage, and I'll use Wing Attack with Scizor. I don't need to do that much damage. Not if they're both attacking. Okay, it was a forfeit. Good, that was a great first round for us. Those weather teams tend to be a little bit challenging, but I think we did a very good job that time. Alright, let's keep going. Well, it's better than nothing. Still in the Great Ball tier. I have a feeling we may be here for a while. This is the highest I've ever gotten, which is fantastic, but the trainers I'm fighting are definitely a lot more challenging now. Hey, at least we're actually getting trainers to fight against. Okay, this time. Somewhat familiar. I tend to see a lot of Rillaboom, a lot of Incineroar, and a fair amount of Xerneas. Yes, that's it. But I don't see very much of those other three. They have a fair amount of Psychic types on this team. I guess they might be trying an expanding force strategy, perhaps. Rillaboom does not bode well for Swampert. That's no good for us. But it would be kind of cool if I could shut down their strategy with neutralizing gas, whatever their strategy may be. So I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start off with Weezing. Maybe. Actually, yes, even though Weezing will negate Zacian's Interpret Sword, on the other hand, it'll negate any of their surge moves or anything like that, surge abilities or anything like that, and I am definitely expecting that. Anyway, let's see what happens. Some of these battle themes are way too intense for the circumstances, honestly. Okay, Incineroar and Meowstic. I very rarely see Meowstic. I actually do not know what they have planned with this. At least my neutralizing gas will negate Incineroar's Intimidate, so that's good for us. Although sadly, since I got rid of Sacred Sword, I could not hit Incineroar super effectively right now. But that's okay. I still think I'll be able to do a fair amount of damage anyway. I do know I'll be able to do a lot to Meowstic, so I think I'm going to go after Meowstic first. I'll use Toxic on Incineroar. Seems like that might be a good option for me right now. I could use Brutal Swing, but that only hits Meowstic super effectively. It doesn't really care about Incineroar, and I don't have a reason to hit Weezing that badly. So I'll use Behemoth Blade on Meowstic and hope for a lot of damage. I really do not see Meowstic often at all. I feel bad for not knowing what it's going to do. Although I guess I should have saw Fake Out coming. Alright, they're definitely trying to shut down Zacian. But that's okay. I could definitely just simply switch out. I'm glad I decided not to protect this round as Weezing. And the Fake Out and Yawn does not bother us, because all I'm going to do is simply just Toxic on Meowstic instead, I think. Or I will simply protect as Weezing, in the assumption that they might try to attack it with maybe a Psychic Stab. And I'll switch to Latias in the hopes that maybe they'll use a Dark-type attack on her. If Incineroar uses a Dark-type attack, then it'll activate Latias' weakness policy, and that is exactly what I want. I'm aware that this also negates Latias' levitate, but I'm not tremendously nervous about that. Parting shot. Okay. That doesn't really bother me too much. I do see a lot of parting shot, so. Let's see. Looks like we're going to be doing a lot of switching in this game, which is rare for me. I don't switch as often as I'd like to. They already know what 3 of my Pokemon are. But that's okay. I think we'll be okay. That Incineroar probably is a lot more focused on stat debuffs than it is about fire types. Alright, Xerneas comes out. I think for Wheezing, I'm going to try and Toxic on Xerneas, see if that does anything for me. I bet Xerneas is probably going to attempt Geomancy in a second here, and that's not good for us at all. So I'm going to switch back to Zacian. I'm definitely nervous about Geomancy, but the Reflect doesn't do very much good for us either. At least we'll be able to get a Toxic on Xerneas. Hopefully that'll do something for us. I think the Geomancy boosts speed, doesn't it? I can't seem to remember. Well, I am aware, of course, that the purpose of these battles is to learn what to expect from my opponents. Alright, they said both Reflect and Light Screen. But that doesn't block Toxic at least, so that's good, I suppose. Zacian is Psychic Fangs, which is great for us. I think that because of since Scizor can also do a lot of damage against Xerneas, well, a fair amount, I think I might actually try and use Psychic Fangs instead, but on the other hand, that may not be a very good idea. I'm nervous, of course, that I won't be able to do any damage to Xerneas. It'll probably hit me first, but I don't know what it plans on using against me. Well, a well-timed Behemoth Blade will do a lot of damage even with Reflect. So let's see what happens. They chose to withdraw Xerneas? Not what I expected. I guess they got nervous. That ruined their Geomancy. I'm not really sure what the strategy was there. Well, now I can use Psychic Fangs without a care in the world, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in a second here. I am, of course, nervous about Zacian going to sleep. I really want the chance to use Psychic Fangs, but I cannot risk a sleep. That's not going to work out very well for me at all. Weezing can at least get some Toxic. I'll get some extra poison damage, which is good for me. They're probably going to switch back to Xerneas. I'm just going to assume. But their Meowstic is not going to... doesn't look like their Meowstic is going to do very much more now that it hasn't... now that the Xerneas... now that their Meowstic has used both shields, I don't know if it's going to be able to do very much more. And I'm just going to assume they're not going to use a Fire-type attack here. This might be kind of a nasty... this may not be a very good decision, but we'll see what happens. Okay, they true Meowstic. I'm guessing Xerneas comes out. No, Comfy comes out. Okay. I'm just expecting it to use Parting Shot. Okay, it did. Awesome. We wanted it to use Parting Shot. Because right now, Scizor has not had any stat buffs, so it's not going to be doing that much damage anyway. Alright, Xerneas comes back out. This is quite a lot of mind games going on right now. Definitely one of the longest battles I've been in for a while, but I don't mind. I'm going to Toxic on Comfy, and I'm going to use Brick Break on Xerneas, or really either of them. It doesn't matter who I hit with this. As long as it connects, I'll knock out all their shields at once. And then I'll be confident in bringing Zacian back in. Alright, Aromatherapy takes effect again. That's kind of a good idea. And I'm aware that it has a, okay, it's going to try to use Geomancy again. But I think it has to take a turn to do that. Meanwhile, we're going to destroy the shields. Even if it didn't do that much damage. Looks like they might have come up with the proper strategy to defeat us now. Maybe. Maybe. Since Scizor is doing okay, I'm going to go ahead and just keep it in right now. Maybe. I believe that Xerneas is still charging. So I think I'm going to switch Squeezing with Zacian. Maybe. I would hate for them to use Intimidate. So instead, I'm going to keep Wheezing out and use Toxic again on Xerneas. I'm going to Swords Dance with Scizor. I've been meaning to try this for a little while, so let's do it. Okay, I was hoping they'd use Aromatherapy again. That's fine. Wheezing attacks last. Alright, so it did take another turn to use Geomancy. We are really trying to outlast each other right now. It's kind of amazing, actually. Alright, Xerneas got the boost it needed. But now I've got the boost I need too. Man, I don't care how fast Xerneas goes. It's not going to be able to prioritize me. Given the circumstances, perhaps they'll Dynamax Scizor instead. Although Bullet Punch is a lot more effective when I have priority on it, so I'm going to go ahead and use that instead. Okay, they did not Dynamax. That doesn't do very much damage because my Scizor does not have very much attack investment. It's using Geomancy again? I'm not really sure what it's attempting here. I guess it's just going to try and sweep as much as it can. But it may not have the chance to. If I hit it one more time with Bullet Punch, it might knock it out. Perhaps they expected me to go for, Perhaps they were expecting me to go for Comfy instead. Alright, this will hopefully kill. And it did. Awesome. Way to go, Scizor. That's what I'm talking about. I'm always grateful to get a chance to use Scizor properly. Lucky for us, even though Comfy had Tri-Edge to boost its priority, our priority Bullet Punch had, I think, out-priority it. I probably could have phrased that better. Alright, now Comfy is our next target. Incineroar still can't use Intimidate, which is awesome for us. And what's more, its Parting Shot does not out-priority us, so we can keep using that on it. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and use Toxic. I'm aware that Aromatherapy could heal them even if they're not in battle, but that doesn't actually bother me that much. This will be a good opportunity for me to use Bullet Punch on Comfy. Alright, the battle was cancelled. Fantastic. That went really well for us. We successfully outlasted them. Fantastic. Very good battle for us. I was very impressed with that. I kind of want to check their stats to see what we were up against. Okay, so that Xerneas had a lot of hit point investment, so we actually were doing a fair amount of damage to it, even with just one attack boost. That's pretty good. I was not expecting that Incineroar. I do see this Incineroar quite often. Although, I'll be honest, I was expecting Rillaboom. I guess they must have realized that the only Pokemon it was good against was Swampert. Well, this is fine with us. Thank you guys very much for watching. I think this will do for now. Please be sure to stay tuned for some later videos. And also, please be sure to check out some of my speed paints. I think that I've got some recommended videos that'll pop up once the video ends. But still, thank you very much for watching, and I will hope to see you next time. Thank you.